Hello and welcome. This is Alchemistexe, and this is the weekly update for the week of July 1st. So, this week we have a new Genesis chapter, and with it, two new units and corresponding mementos, as well as a summer memento for Mira. And that is about it, aside from this one EXP quest, which I definitely recommend doing every day. Save yourself a bunch of apples, especially people who are post 95. So you're going to find the Genesis in the Genesis section of story, and if this is your first instance of this type of quest, they are all the same format, and they all consist of doing a series of maps that unlock a boss, and then there's a hard version and an EX version. So 3 different sets of levels and corresponding bosses, and they give you coins, and then you use the coins to get prizes, which in this case, if you are interested in enlightening either Inaku or Emil, then it's very important to do this event because you'll get the unique statues for gates 4 and 5 in this section. So even if you're not... Oh, and then as an added bonus, soul shards for the 2 new units as well. So even if you're not like interested in the new units, then it's definitely worth it for either of those units. And speaking of... Inaku got quite a few upgrades. I recommend checking that out in the news because he should be substantially higher functioning as a unit. Just they added extra utility onto his moves, more damage modifiers like strong versus water. He was already a unit with a decent amount of utility, but still felt kind of clunky. I think this should iron out a lot of the clunkiness in his kit. And since, just as an aside, I am fortunate enough to, one, have him, 2, have his memento. I went right past him. And then 3, have that memento at max limit break because I got flooded with Greed Dyke reliefs just from random sources. I would like to do a review on him shortly, so hopefully I can get to that this week, because I'm interested in exploring exactly how big of an upgrade that change was. But yeah, that is about it for the content that's new this week. I'll go into a little more detail about what I think of the new units and acquiring them when I go over the banners. But before we get to that, there are a few things I'd like to go over concerning Gate 7 and where we are in terms of getting to that. What I wanted to talk about was Nimul and Gate 7. Because after looking at the update schedule, just the release history for Japan, both just in totality and for stuff that's currently unreleased, there really isn't much content left pre-Gate 7. The biggest thing that we haven't gotten yet that we need to get is the Also Sprock event for Oxjob Plus and the Templar Zex. There were 2 collabs. We might get one of them based on rumors I heard from Reddit. It would either be ReZero or King of Fighters, as far as post-Gate 6 but pre-Gate 7 collabs. I don't know if we'll get one or both or neither. No clue. But that's potential. But aside from that, there's not much else. Gate 7 dropped about 2 months after Genesis Chapter 6 Part 2, which is where we are now. And we're not, always on the same spot. We get some stuff very out of order relative to Japan. Like, they got Rachel right before where we are now, whereas we got her before the Phantom of the Kill that introduced Minerva and Hercule. So it can be a different chronology than Japan, but in general, it's often worth taking a look at that update history just to get a general idea. And you can always discount things like events tied to holidays. So, like, there's no way we're going to get the Ramses Job Plus, before Halloween. And, unless it's like one of those really rare circumstances where they do something out of order, like we've gotten New Year's mementos when it wasn't New Year's, but it'd probably be easier for them to just retroactively add Gate 7 onto them for that. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention mostly because of Nimul. He is considered a meta-defining unit, kind of in the Dark Nyx, Nero category of like super hard to get, expensive, looking at like 85k to get them and the memento. But if you do, you have this, super dominating unit. and that could affect your gem spending and gem saving, because there isn't much time, somewhere between, I would guess, 1 and 3 months, where 3 is pretty generous estimate. So it's not a ton of time to save gems, but it's enough to save a decent amount. So as the banners come in, I'll be thinking about that when I do the banner review in a moment here. For those of you that knew about Nimul already, then you're probably already saving for him. But for those of you that don't, keep an eye out for that unit, because he looks like he'd be pretty awesome to have. So with that out of the way, now we can move on to the banners. Okay, so here we are at the banners, and I'll start with the 2 paid, which they are the exact same format. You get a featured one among the pool. The entire 5-star pool are the featured, and you get a corresponding relief to go with it. It's alright. I don't really recommend either one of these unless you're like the highest tier of whale, and in that case, you're probably just going to do them anyway. Because the 9-step is really similar, and if you're willing to wait a week, you could guarantee one of these mementos for 1,000 gems. More on that later. And then this one, I just don't recommend it because while there are some good mementos on there, like if you're using Oct or Kaya's, Teresa's is kind of great for her. I think Mira's is just pure luxury. Like, she can do the support stuff that she needs to do without it, and then she's like alright as a damaging unit, but not amazing. And I don't think that you really need this memento. If you really, really want it, then great, but I can't say that I recommend it. Speaking of not recommending things, I don't recommend either of these 2 5-steps that are split, because both Solva and Quint have the type of enlightenment where it's just normal. So they have all 6 gates, and they're both available in the Louise shop. So no matter what you do, if you want either of these units, it's going to be quite a bit of gems. But at least because of the box event, you only have to buy 100 from the shops if you want to transmute them. But then you're also going to probably want to buy more shops, or buy more from the shop and the bazaar, and maybe with Genesis coins if you get them. Because in order to have them like function really well, you're going to want to have them be as lightened as possible. And ideally, in the case of Solva, has this memento. So no matter what you do, you're going to be looking at spending a lot of gems to get them up and running completely. So that's why I think transmuting is better, because since they're split, you could just have a run of bad luck would get you absolutely nowhere. And by then you could have spent the amount that it would have taken to transmute them and get some gates capped out pretty quickly. So don't recommend this. If you really want them, transmute them. Then we have 3 rerun banners that are for Emil, Inaku, and Mira. So unlike the above, because they're not split, you can get shards at least and potentially transmute them if you do enough laps. At this point, for the 3 of them, if you really, really want them, I'd say go for it. But probably better off saving for like Nimul, as I mentioned earlier, or other units that you're interested in. And maybe just hopefully you get lucky on future reroll banners or coin banners, etc. Speaking of coin banners, now there's 3 of them. So they have the pools divided up kind of in chronological order, but they're all the same. You get 200 coins per step, and you can use them to buy shards for units you've already got. I think these are pretty good, depending on your situation. If you have 0 Genesis units, then not that great, because you could get absolute garbage and then have nothing to do with the coins that you acquire. But if you've got some and you really want to raise them, then this is the best way to do that, because you don't have to rely on RNG. You just guarantee get the coins. And if you're lucky, you might pick up the odd Genesis unit here and there. So really, which one you decide to do, if you want to do this, depends on which ones you might potentially want. But in all honesty, it doesn't matter that much because it's super unlikely. So just pick the one that makes the most sense to you and hope for the best. So then the last 2 are going to be memento banners that are 9 steps. So if you want to guarantee one of these, that's going to be the way to do it. I already said my piece about Mira's. This one makes a little more sense. And then if you are not interested in the coin banner, not sure what to do with your discount ticket, then I have one recommendation. It does rely on information we don't have yet, because we don't know exactly what's going to be happening next week. But this banner is going to be around for 2 weeks instead of just 1. So that means next week I'll have 2 discount tickets. So because this one, much like the paid version of it, is a limited pool to just these Genesis mementos, and you have 2 discount tickets, you can guarantee yourself one of these 6 for 1,000 gems next week. Or if you're super impatient, 3,000 gems with 1 discount ticket. Either way, that's not too bad for getting yourself a limited memento, especially in the Genesis category. The downside is you have no idea which one it would be. Like for me, the Inaku one would be completely useless because I already have it maxed out. But if you're interested in either the new units, or you never got Emeralds, or for some reason you're really down to get Minarios, then this could be potentially really useful, especially if nothing appeals to you next week. So yeah, that is about it. That I'm going to save my discount ticket, by the way. So yeah, that is it for the weekly update. Hopefully for those of you that are summoning, I hope you have good luck, and I will see you all next time.